Good morning. Welcome to Kitsap Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, for this time here, we are one gathered congregation, and all are welcome. Please rise, body or spirit, to join in singing our musical call to worship, For the Earth Forever Turning, hymn number 163. The words will appear on the screen. It's also in the gray hymnal. My name is Brian Watson. I use he, him pronouns to help widen our circle to people who have sight impairments. I'm wearing a light blue button-down shirt with a special dark blue tie that my dad made. I am functionally bald, or maybe dysfunctionally bald, I'm not sure. I wear glasses and I have a clean-shaven face. I've been part of the KUUF community for almost 30 years. It's hard to believe. This community is a vital part of my life. A place where I can, where I'm accepted for who I am. A place where I can practice love. A place where I can be held in compassion. I'm grateful to be here this morning, and I can think of no better place to be this morning. Our guest speaker this morning is Reverend Barry Andrews, Minister Emeritus of the UU congregation at Shelter Rock on Long Island, as well as the author of several books on Transcendentalism. We are really grateful to have you here this morning, Reverend Barry. We strive to be an inclusive community. If you are visiting here this morning, Please participate however you feel comfortable. You're also invited to stay after our service this morning to meet people during our coffee hour and make some friends, possibly. If you're attending online today, you're welcome to introduce yourself in the chat. Oh, I need one of those thingies. Thank you. I'd like to call your attention to the insert in your order of service today. There's several events that are happening after the service and during this week. Notably, today there is the continuation of our Starting Point series that will meet here in the sanctuary at noon. Bring your coffee and goodies and questions about Unitarian Universalist history and theology. Reverend Barry is going to be our guest leader of that program today. And our own Paul Wilson. Where are you, Paul? He's out. Of course he's out. He's doing stuff. Paul is going to be leading a tour of our buildings and our grounds. And I must say that the Starting Point series, it's kind of billed as for newcomers, but I got to tell you, even after being here for decades, I got so much out of going to those classes the last time they were held, and I really encourage all of you, if you can, to attend. Well worth it. I also got a hot tip from Lisa Johnson that there are numerous plants that need a home at the farmer's market on the breezeway right out there, including some strawberry plants. So, lots to do. And there's a social justice committee meeting in the admin building as well. For more announcements about Kitsap UU Fellowship activities, please see our weekly email newsletter, The Candle. All right. Let's take a moment now to silence any of your electronic devices that you don't need to be monitoring for our time together this morning. And join me in taking a few centering breaths. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the Aboriginal territory of the Suquamish people. Expert fishermen, canoe builders, and basket weavers, the Suquamish live in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central Salish Sea, as they have for thousands of years. Here, the Suquamish live and protect the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855. Reverend Barry.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm pleased to be with you again today in a building that I helped to dedicate 40 years ago. It's always a pleasure to be here and amongst this wonderful congregation. I shall say to the folks who are tuning in that I wear glasses, I have white hair, I stand about 5 feet 8 inches tall. What else is there? Oh, and I'm wearing a colorful jacket. And I'd like to open our service with these words from Theodore Parker. He was a very prominent, outspoken Transcendentalist Unitarian minister in Boston and a prominent abolitionist. Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple, all space. Its shrine, the good heart. Its creed, all truth. Its ritual, works of love. Its profession of faith, divine living.
Thank you. We welcome Bonner Sams forward to light our chalice. Bonner has immersed himself deeply here at KUUF since he first began attending on January 2nd, 2010, including the worship committee and spearheading the Labyrinth Task Force. Join me now in lighting our chalice. This is a reminder of what we share by Pat Uribe Lichty. The chalice is a symbol of our faith. Like our faith, it is not magic, nor is it mysterious. We light it as a reminder of what we share as a community and of who each of us is called to be. When we feel lost in a chaotic world, may the light of our chalice show us our path. When we are afraid of the times we live in, may the light of our chalice give us courage. When we despair at the injustice and cruelty around us, may the light of our chalice recall us to a faithful hope. Our chalice is a symbol of our commitment to each other and ourselves. We light it today as a gathered community that we may understand more completely and act more boldly and hope more fiercely. Please join me in our spoken affirmation. The words will appear on the screen. We gather as a caring community, seeking life's deeper meanings. We value diversity and affirm the worth of all living things. We strive to speak truth in love, to act for justice, to grow in spirit, and to care for the earth. We celebrate with open hearts and minds the creative power that sustains and transforms us. Please rise in body or in spirit to join in singing the hymn As Tranquil Streams, number 145 in the gray hymnal. Words will be on the screen as well.
As tranquil streams that meet and merge and flow as one to seek the sea, our kindred hearts and minds unite to build a church that shall be free, free from the bonds that bind the mind to narrow thought and lifeless creed, from a social code that fails to serve the cause of human need, a freedom that reveres the past but trusts the dawning future more, and bids the soul in search of truth adventure boldly and explore. Prophetic church, the future waits your liberating ministry. Go forward in that power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free.
I'd like to invite Lisa Johnson to come do our Time for All Ages.
Thank you, Brian. And I get to read this story today. Melinda is away somewhere. Have you ever been frustrated?
Yes.
Have you ever been so frustrated that your mind just goes closed and you feel like you're going to explode? And maybe it's when you're trying to create something that would be just right. That's what our story is about today. It's called The Most Magnificent Thing. And the pictures are wonderful, and I hope that we can we can keep up with each other on the pictures. It's by Ashley Spires, The Most Magnificent Thing. This is a regular girl and her best friend in the whole wide world. They do all kinds of things together. They race, they eat, they explore, they relax. She makes things, and he unmakes things. One day, the girl has a wonderful idea. She is going to make the most magnificent thing. She knows just how it will look. She knows just how it will work. All she has to do is make it, and she makes things all the time, easy peasy. First, she hires an assistant. Next, they gather their supplies and set up somewhere out of the way and get to work. The girl tinkers and hammers and measures, while her assistant pounces and growls and chews. When she is finished, she steps back to admire her work. She walks around to one side. Her assistant examines the other side. It doesn't look right. Her assistant picks it up and gives it a shake. It doesn't feel right either. They are shocked to discover that the thing isn't magnificent at all, or good. It isn't even kind of, sort of okay. It is all wrong. The girl tosses it aside and gives it another go. She smooths and wrenches and fiddles. Oops. I knew this would go wrong. This is the first time up here without a real book or something in hand, and I think I can get back to it. Okay, I got it. Phew. She wrenches and fiddles. Okay, here we are. Her assistant circles and tugs and wags. When she is finished, she stands up and takes a long look at it. Her assistant gives it a nudge with his paw. The thing is still wrong. She decides to try again. The girl saws and glues and adjusts. She stands and examines and stares. She twists and tweaks and fastens. She fixes and straightens and studies. She tries all different ways to make it better. She makes it square. She makes it round. She gives it legs. She adds antenna. She makes it fuzzy. She makes it long, short, rough, smooth, big, small. One even smells of stinky cheese. But none of them are magnificent. Her work attracts a few admirers, but they don't understand. They can't see the magnificent thing that she has in her mind. The angrier she gets, the faster she works. She smashes pieces into shapes. She jams parts together. She pummels the little bits in. Her hands feel too big to work, and her brain is too full of all the not right things. If only the thing would just work. Crunch. The pain starts in her finger. It rushes up to her brain. And she explodes. It's not her finest moment. I am no good at this. I quit. Her assistant suggests a walk. It's not much help at first. But before long, she starts to feel different. Might be the cookie. Bit by bit, the mad gets pushed out of her head. As they stroll along, she comes across the first wrong thing that she made. The bad feelings are about to start all over again. Then she notices something surprising. There are some parts of the wrong things that are really quite right. The bolts on one, the shape of another, the wheel to seat ratio of the next. There are all sorts of parts that she likes. By the time she reaches the end of the trail, she finally knows how to make the thing magnificent. She gets to work. She works carefully and slowly, tinkering, hammering, twisting, fiddling, gluing, painting. Her assistant makes sure there are no distractions. The afternoon fades into evening. Finally, she finishes. She alerts her assistant. The pair take a good long look. It leans a little to the left, and it's a bit heavier than expected. The color could use a bit of work, too, but it's just what she wanted. They climb aboard and take it for a spin. They are not disappointed. It really is the most magnificent thing. So her there needed that assistant. Persistence paid off. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. As a religious community together, we can do the work of many. By sharing in the sacred act of giving, we transform gratitude into generosity towards our mission. One way that our mission inspires us to act on our shared UU values is to share our weekly offering with a local nonprofit agency providing services within our wider community. Our charitable giving recipient for May is the Kitsap Immigrant Assistance Center, or KAYAK for short, which works to empower, educate, and integrate immigrants through advocacy and social justice. If you'd like your offering to go to this month's charitable giving recipient, Kitsap Immigrant Assistance Center, please use the envelope from inside your order of service. If you need an envelope, please raise your hand and one of our ushers will bring you one. If you would like your offering to go to KUUF, put your donation directly into the basket. Instructions on ways you can make your gift, including a QR code, will be on the screens. Let there be an offering to strengthen and sustain our beloved community while we enjoy a gift of music from our music coordinator, Brian Kenny, as he plays Bagatelle by Ludwig von Beethoven. Thank you, Brian. Please rise in body or in spirit to join me in singing our children to their children's religious education programs. The words for May You Go With Joy will appear on our screens.
Surprise. My name is Liz Roberts. I use she, her pronouns. I have dark, short hair. I wear glasses, and this morning I'm wearing a black dress with white stripes. When shared together, our joys are amplified and our sorrows are lessened. And we have a sheaf of them this morning. Look at this. Ed Luby has a joy that the Coffee Oasis partnered with the Lions Club to make the pancake breakfast still happen yesterday. And I was downtown and I could smell it. It smelled good. James Haynes Timmons. Did I say that like your mom? James Haynes Timmons? Okay. James has a sorrow. His beloved Subaru Outback has been rear-ended and totaled. A moment of silence. My joy is that he's in the market for a good commuter car, so if anyone has a lead, there's James. Eric Jensen shares a joy this morning. His joy is watching Tina Mitchell's division-winning performance at the Tacoma Dragon Boat Festival on Saturday. For more information, see Tina after church. I do love this one. I'm sorry that Harper has already left, but Megan Shepard's joy is that Harper, she's the middle daughter, yes, curly hair, she got second place at the annual Seagull Calling Contest in Port Orchard. Perhaps she could tell us about that or demonstrate later. I can say this one kind of quietly. Bonner's joy is for being fitted for his first hearing aids on April 30th. He is still getting used to all those additional sounds, but is thrilled to be hearing more than ever. Yay. I'm going to share a sorrow with you from Brian Watson and our family. Our sorrow is that on Tuesday, unexpectedly, Brian's father, Larry Watson, an amazing man, passed away. Brian says, and he writes, "I'm proud to be his son and grateful for his spirit. And our whole family is grateful for the love of this community as we grieve the second parent and second grandparent we've lost in our family in 4 months." And it's, you guys, we are just reeling. But Brian's not going to be here for hugs after services because he's running off to help somebody learn to ride their bike. But just send him some of that good psychic energy. And I think he could take probably email and text and cards, but talking on the phone right now, probably not. Okay? Thank you. Jill Claridge has has a big joy here. She says, Jill Claridge, a great-grandchild. Is it only? Does it say only great-grandchild? Or? Well, it is a grandchild. A great-grandchild. Okay. Miles Remington Hampton Claridge is healthy and now 2 weeks old. Aww. That's awesome, Jill. That's awesome. Mac Johnson shares a sorrow that a friend of his from New Hampshire and Bainbridge Island died last month in a rock climbing accident, and the climbing community is grieving his loss. And Jill Claridge has another joy. She returned safe and happy from Scotland, Iceland, and England. Wonderful. And we light one last candle for all those joys and sorrows that are still too tender to share. Will you join me in a moment of prayer or meditation? Spirit of life, known by many names, yet no name fully known, we gather today with hopes and dreams, and also with fears and wounds. We have great joy of pancake breakfasts and new great-grandchildren and deep sorrows of loved ones lost. May we be reminded that all things come and go, that today's joys and today's sorrows will in time give way to those of tomorrow, and that those of us who have strength to share today ought do so while we can, and that those who are in need ought allow ourselves to receive, for tomorrow those roles may well be reversed. Spirit of life, mother and father of us all, help us to remember those that are not here with us today, those who need what we have found here, and those who have what we here need. May we always be open to growth and change, to movement, to grace, in the name of all that is holy, and in all the holy names that have ever been uttered, and those that have not yet even been imagined. Let us say, blessed be, shalom, and amen. Please remain seated now as we sing Spirit of Life, number 123 from Singing the Living Tradition. The words will appear on our screens.
Students for the ministry, at least back in my day, were required to read Emerson's Divinity School Address. And if you haven't read it, I'd recommend you find a copy and read it for yourself. It's a wonderful and very provocative address to the graduating students in 1838. Let me admonish you, first of all, to go alone, to refuse the good models, even those which are sacred in the imagination of men, and dare to love God without mediator or veil. Yourself, a newborn bard of the Holy Ghost, cast behind you all conformity and acquaint men at first hand with deity. For all our penny wisdom, for all our soul-destroying slavery to habit, it is not to be doubted that all men have sublime thoughts, that all men value the few real hours of life. They love to be caught up into the vision of principles. We mark with light in the memory the few interviews we have had in the dreary years of routine and sin, with souls that have made our souls wiser, that spoke what we thought, that told us what we knew, that gave us leave to be what we inly were. Discharge to men the priestly office, and present or absent you shall be followed with their love as by an angel. The true preacher can be known by this, that he deals out to the people his life passed through the fire of thought. And now let us join in a spirit of meditation.
Scoot that guy up there. Sorry, Ed. That's fine. Is it good? Love knocks and waits for us to hear, to open and invite. Love longs to quiet every fear and seeks to set things right. Love offers life in spite of foes who threaten and condemn, embracing enemies. Love goes the second mile with them. Love comes to heal the broken heart, to ease the troubled mind. Without a word, love bids us start to ask and seek and find. Love knocks and enters at the sound of welcome from within. Love sings and dances all around and feels new life begin.
It's difficult to take in a bunch of names and dates, so I'm going to talk about themes instead, or in this case, the 5 strands of Unitarian Universalism. Although one or more of them have been dominant in certain periods, all are still present in our liberal religious DNA. These are, in my view at least, liberal Christianity, Transcendentalism, Progressivism, Universalism, and Humanism. Unitarian Universalism, as we know them, were born in America, although there were precursors and antecedents in Europe and Britain. Neither of them were imports. Unitarianism was an outgrowth of Puritan congregationalism as it existed in New England. John Murray, the founder of Universalism, had been a Methodist minister in England. Initially, Unitarians and Universalists didn't have much in common. The Unitarians tended to be well-educated urban dwellers, while the Universalists were more rural and small-town folks. But both groups exemplified liberal Christianity, the first of my 5 strands. Proto-Unitarians considered themselves liberal Christians, even as their detractors called them heretics and infidels. They believed that God was one, not a trinity, hence the name. More importantly, they dispensed with the doctrines of election, predestination, and the depravity of human nature. The Puritans believed that human beings were inherently sinful, that only an elect would qualify for salvation, and that God knew from time immemorial who would go to heaven and who would go to hell. Humans were powerless to effect their salvation. Foremost among these liberal Christian ministers was William Ellery Channing of Boston. He's especially noted for delivering an address on Unitarian Christianity in Baltimore in 1819. Initially, the liberal ministers avoided the term Unitarian, which was a red flag to their critics. But Channing embraced it. He believed in the benevolence of God, the humanity of Jesus, and the unlimited potential of human goodness. John Murray came to America in 1770 and immediately began preaching a new gospel of hope. Salvation is for everyone, he insisted. His message of universal salvation was seized upon by many as an alternative to Orthodox Calvinism. It caught on and began to spread throughout New England in the late 18th century. Within a short period of time, most of the congregational churches in Massachusetts became Unitarian. New Unitarian churches were formed in the Midwest and along the East Coast. In 1860, Unitarianism had reached as far as California. With continued growth came the need for organization. In 1865, following the Civil War, the National Conference of Unitarian Churches was formed as a vehicle to unite existing Unitarian churches and expand the movement nationally. Throughout the 19th century, Unitarian churches considered themselves Christian, even as they drifted away from biblicism and the divinity of Jesus. Universalism was identified with universal salvation, a radical notion at the time, but in other respects it remained conservative theologically, insisting on biblical authority and the centrality of Jesus and his atonement. Even today, there are Unitarian Universalist churches that identify as liberal Christian. The second strand of Unitarian Universalism is that of Transcendentalism, which was a radical departure from first-generation Unitarianism. In 1836, a small group of Unitarians, mostly ministers, gathered to discuss the writings of Romantic poets and philosophers from Germany and England. Most prominent among this group was Ralph Waldo Emerson, a former Unitarian minister. Emerson was invited to address the graduating class at Harvard Divinity School in 1838. On that occasion, he attacked historical Christianity, church dogma, and stale preaching. Religious truth, he argued, is grounded in personal experience, or as he put it, whilst the doors of the temple stand open night and day before every man, and the oracles of this truth cease never, it is guarded by one stern condition, this, namely, it is an intuition, it cannot be received at second hand. He wasn't invited back to Harvard for 35 years. In the place of historical Christianity, Transcendentalists advocated a mystical approach to religion grounded in nature and human consciousness. They moved mysticism from the margins of religious life to the center, and from the rarefied atmosphere of spiritual elites to the everyday life of the common person. And they applied it to the problems of daily living and the challenges of social reform. They sought to cultivate the soul by means of a spiritual practice that included contemplation, communion with nature, simple living, deep conversation, and action from principle. They represented what one writer has called the spiritual left in America. Long thought of as a literary movement, Transcendentalism was and continues to be a vital strand of Unitarian Universalism, even if we seldom invoke the term. Historian David Robinson, author of The Unitarians and the Universalists, reminds us of its significance. Like a pauper who searches for the next meal, never knowing of the relatives whose will would make him rich, American Unitarians lament their vague religious identity, standing upon the richest spiritual legacy of any American denomination. Next is the progressive strand of Unitarian Universalism. From the beginning, Unitarians and Universalists have been agents of reform and social justice. Early in the 19th century, Horace Mann was crusading for common schools, Elizabeth Peabody was promoting kindergartens, and Bronson Alcott was introducing new methods of teaching in his Temple School in Boston. Reverend George Ripley and his wife Sophia founded the Brook Farm Commune, and Reverend Aidan Ballou, a Universalist, founded the Hopedale community based on pacifist principles. Dorothea Dix lobbied for better treatment for people with special needs. Universalist Clara Barton, a Civil War nurse, founded the American Red Cross. The list of Unitarian and Universalist reformers is a long one. The anti-slavery crusade took center stage in the years leading up to the Civil War, and the Transcendentalists played a major role. They were not only nature mystics, they were also radical abolitionists, and more so than their more orthodox Unitarian colleagues. Foremost among them was Theodore Parker, a powerful speaker who weekly addressed an audience of thousands in the music hall in Boston. It was he who wrote, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice," a line frequently quoted by Martin Luther King Jr. In 1846, Henry David Thoreau spent a night in jail for refusing to pay taxes in protest of slavery and the U.S. invasion of Mexico. From this experience came his famous essay on civil disobedience, which influenced Gandhi, King, and countless others in the struggle for civil rights and social justice. Unitarian and Universalist women, too, were actively involved in the anti-slavery movement. In 1833, Lydia Maria Child authored an appeal in favor of that class of Americans called Africans. Women in cities and towns throughout New England formed local female anti-slavery societies that agitated for abolition and sponsored speeches by noted anti-slavery speakers. During the Civil War, many women carried out the work of the United States Sanitary Commission, raising millions of dollars and enlisting thousands of volunteers in support of the Northern cause. As a result of these efforts, women demonstrated leadership capabilities that after the war were instrumental in the women's suffrage movement. Mary Livermore, a Universalist who led the Chicago Sanitary Commission and in 1868 convened a women's suffrage convention, once said, "During the war, and as a result of my own observations, I became aware that a large portion of the nation's work was badly done or not done at all because woman was not recognized as a factor in the political world." Margaret Fuller, one of the Transcendentalists and editor of their magazine, The Dial, led a series of conversations for women in Boston between 1839 and 1844. These conversations were intended to raise the consciousness of women who were deprived of freedoms and opportunities enjoyed by men. As a result of this experience, she was inspired to write the first American feminist manifesto, Woman in the 19th Century, published in 1845. The first women's rights convention, spearheaded by Unitarian Elizabeth Cady Stanton, was convened in Seneca Falls, New York in 1848. In the decades following the Civil War, women's right to vote became the central issue. Two major women's suffrage organizations, the National Women's Suffrage Association and the American Women's Suffrage Association, were headed by Unitarian women, Susan B. Anthony and Julia Ward Howe, respectively. In 1863, suffragist Olympia Brown became the first woman ordained by any denomination. While the number of women in the ministry remains small for many decades afterwards, today more than half of our UU ministers are women. Henry Thoreau is notable not only for his essay on civil disobedience, but also for his reverence for nature, as expressed in Walden and other writings. In Wildness is the Preservation of the Earth, a line from his essay on walking is a motto of the Sierra Club. His detailed observations of nature have been useful in establishing a timeline for climate change. His emphasis on simple living has inspired efforts to achieve sustainability. Today, the Unitarian Universalist Ministry for Earth carries on much of this work. There isn't time to list all the progressive issues Unitarian Universalists have been engaged in over the years, leading up to the present day. Suffice it to say that the progressive strand has been a prominent one. Next on my list is the Universalist strand. By this, I don't mean the notion of universal salvation, but rather something broader and more inclusive. As time went on, both the Unitarians and the Universalists sought to move beyond creedalism and sectarianism. This was prompted in part by the Transcendentalists, who took a serious interest in the philosophies and religious traditions of India, China, and the Middle East. In these, they found similar expressions of perennial truths. In 1871, Reverend Thomas Wentworth Higginson, another Transcendentalist, wrote an essay on the sympathy of religions. Every year brings new knowledge of the religions of the world, he wrote, and every step in knowledge brings out the sympathy between them. They all show similar ends, symbols, forms, aims, weaknesses, and aspirations. Looking at these points of unity, we might say that under many forms there is but one religion. The Universalists were moving in the same direction. In 1949, Brainerd Gibbons, president of the Universalist Church of America, described universalism as boundless in scope, as broad as humanity, and as infinite as the universe, a religion not exclusively Christian, but a synthesis of all religious knowledge, a truly universal religion. Henry Thoreau edited a column called The Ethical Scriptures in the Dial magazine, featuring writings from Hinduism, Confucianism, and Sufism. Elizabeth Peabody was the first American to translate and publish a Buddhist text, the Lotus Sutra. Unitarians and Universalists were active participants in the World's Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893. An outgrowth of that meeting was the formation of the International Association for Religious Freedom, a gathering of religious liberals from all the major religions, which continued to meet for many decades afterwards. In more recent years, Unitarian Universalists have explored many forms of spirituality, including Buddhism, Sufism, paganism, and earth-based traditions. Accompanying the statement of UU principles adopted in the 1980s is a list of the sources from which we draw our faith. These include direct experience of transcending mystery and wonder, wisdom from the world's religions, Jewish and Christian teachings, and spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions. Today, we're not known so much for the original meaning of the words Unitarian and Universalist as by our emphasis on the unities and universals of religion. Humanism is the fifth strand of Unitarian Universalism. Humanism is the most vital and distinctive theological movement since Transcendentalism. Theism had become a troubling issue for both denominations. Growing secularization in the later years of the 19th century diminished the personhood of God, leading some to ask whether there could be a religion without the notion of a transcendent deity. In 1933, several humanist ministers drafted a humanist manifesto signed by 34 Unitarians, Universalists, and public intellectuals. The manifesto declared that the universe is self-existing and not created, that modern science has rendered supernatural guarantees of human values untenable, that outmoded notions of God must be replaced by a naturalistic understanding of the universe, and that the goal of life should be to realize one's fullest development and to find fulfillment in the here and now. Within a matter of decades, humanism became the prominent theological position in Unitarian and Universalist churches. There has been a division between secular and religious humanists. The secular humanists are more strident in their atheism and denial of anything suggestive of spirituality. Religious humanists, while believing that religion is a human construct, nevertheless find inspiration in the writings and teachings of many spiritual traditions. They find no evidence for the existence of a supernatural, personal creator of the universe, but remain receptive to transcendent experiences that reveal hidden dimensions of life. As Thoreau once said, the universe is wider than our views of it. Today, I would say that the Universalist, Progressive, and to a lesser extent, the Transcendentalist strands are predominant in Unitarian Universalism. In the last 30 years or so, there's been a proliferation of varieties of spirituality within our movement, including hybrid expressions of faith such as UU Buddhists and Jewish UUs. More recently, there's been an emphasis on issues concerning race, sexuality, climate change, environmental protection, and income inequality. At the same time, judging from my experience, writing and teaching about the Transcendentalists, I sense there's a hunger for a more deeply, personally, and uniquely Unitarian Universalist spiritual tradition. The first verse of that hymn we sang earlier reads, "As tranquil streams that meet and merge and flow as one to meet the sea, our kindred hearts and minds unite to build a church that shall be free." Well, these streams have not always been tranquil. There has been tension and conflict, but through it all, Unitarian Universalists have remained united in building a church that shall be free. And now I invite you to rise as you're willing and able to sing our closing hymn, number 187, It Sounds Along the Ages.
It sounds along the ages, soul answering to soul. It kindles on the
As we end our service today and go forth embodying the flame, I share with you these words from Margaret Fuller's A Woman in the 19th Century. A new manifestation is at hand. We would have every arbitrary barrier thrown down. We would have every path laid open to woman as freely as to man. Were this done, we believe a divine energy would pervade nature to a degree unknown in the history of former ages. A new manifestation is at hand. A new time is come. History has